Well, it is an absolute pleasure to have Simon here with us. Simon is a VP at O2Web, a Magento agency in Toronto. Is that correct?
That's actually in Montreal City, in Quebec City.
Okay.
So we're in Canada, which is for a lot of people is one big of the same place, but We're based out of Montreal and Quebec. Yeah.
Very good. Well, and as vice president of this, from what I understand, a fairly large partner, I'd be curious to know, like, what is your specialty? Like, what kind of projects do you like to work on? Maybe just a quick overview of that type of your activities.
Sure. So the O2Web, we launched 15 years ago. So we've been in business for quite a while, and really what we do is our specialty is e-commerce. As you said, we do a lot of Magento, which is a lot of core of what we do. But we also do everything that's around the kind of the infrastructure of a performing and e-commerce infrastructure. So we do Akineo PIMs quite a bit. We also do conversion rates optimization, automation. We have a Adobe Analytics, Adobe Marketo kind of practice, if you want. But this is where we kind of limit our expertise because, as any agency in has worked in the e-commerce space, it's very easy to pick on some other parts as like content and social media. Yes, we can do it. But reality is we said, no, we can't do it because, we work with partners that have this expertise, but, that's where we lay our expertise as far as technology and in industries. We work both in B2B and B2C space with a few specialty here and there in Canada and the US, basically. I think that's kind of the gist of it, of, who we are and what we do.
Definitely. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm from what I understand, well, let's just put this out there. How many people are focused exclusively on Magento in your practice?
I would say that's a good question. I mean, we have solution specialists who are not developer per se, but I would say 75% of everyone working on the production side of it would be Magento oriented. Everything else would be So there's roughly 70 of us between two offices. I mean, we've COVID has been, a special period for us, and a lot of demands and a lot of new hires. So that's why my number is a little rough. But this is about 70%, 70 people that we have there. So 70% of that is, I don't know if you're good in mental math, but that's 55 about 55
or something. Yeah,
I guess. So yeah, I would guess so.
So getting these 55 people certified, obviously you have to meet minimum partner criteria, and I think you guys have done excellent at that. And even beyond that. So I'm curious how this works from a top level perspective. We've talked to quite a number of people who are just call it in the developer ranks, but you as a VP, you clearly have a influence in achieving these partner requirements, getting your people certified, getting them highly skilled and trained in this. So how, I guess probably the first question we could ask is, how do you schedule time for this? How do you make it so that your folks can actually get stuff done? You said you've been busy with COVID and all that stuff, and I know it's varied from agency to agency, but and it's really cool to have so much work, but then how do you actually get all these other goals done too? Make time for it.
That's it. You know what? That's a $1,000 question, right? And then I think it comes down to priority. The idea of having as much of our people working and working on projects and having happy clients and faster delivery time and whatnot. They're all goals that we want to achieve. But at the end of the day, if we're not able to deliver something that is either quality or something that meets the requirement, we're going to end up in this spiral of unsatisfaction from either everybody else that's working with us as far as clients or people that are developers or solution specialists. So, so to prioritize, spending time learning about the platform we work with, it, whether it's Magento or Akineo PIM or something like that we do. What we do is with our production teams, we book time throughout the year for people to learn. And of course, as you were saying, we have a lot of people. Not everybody is certified yet. I mean, that's eventually everybody will,
of course,
hopefully. But everybody has a different, skill set and a different experience level as well. So the idea is for people to be comfortable with learning, seeing how the other people learn, and have time in their schedule to do that. Mind you, if we have a crunch project or we have something that comes in and we have to do that, sometimes we unfortunately have to move this time. But as far as possible, we try to keep this time in their schedule so that they can, progress. Because, just on a business perspective, for us to hire someone that has 10 years experience, for example, it's much more difficult, not only in money wise, but into finding those people, 10 years of experience versus someone that's growing internally. So if you do the math, it makes a lot more sense to allow this time for people in the to learn, and in the long term, the return is better. That's a more business side. But on the value side, my clients that know that we have certification that people are ready to help them, have worked on similar project, has a lot of value as well, a lot of security for them, and frankly allows us to compete better, because we can bring value, and we can make sure we meet the requirements and build those relationships with our clients.
Absolutely. So I'm hearing is the focus on scheduling time on a consistent basis. Can you give me a picture as far as, is it typically 30 minutes? Is it a day? Is it 10 minutes a day, or half an hour? Like how does this schedule work? Putting really practical terms for everybody.
Right. So in practical terms, I will say the worst answer, I think, is it depends. So
of course,
if we have someone that's ready to roll, that's been 2-3 years doing, let's say, a full stack developer, for example, and then he's like, hey, I want to do this. I think I can do it quickly and within this amount of time. When we do the goals that they set, then we can be a more aggressive timeline and reserve them, let's say, like half a day a week. So let's say 3.5 hours to a full day a week to do an express path there. If we have somebody that's a bit more junior, that's still learning, for example, and wants to get to the associate level or something like that, then we would give them something like, again, half a day per sprint instead of it being per week. So it'll be like 3 hours per 2 weeks that we do, let's say 2 sprints of 2 weeks, and have something of a more passive way from there. And it becomes also with the tools that we provide them with, right? So we use there's no secrets here. If I'm here talking, we use Swift Otter, of course. But let's say we give them a guide, and then it's like, hey, start reading this, start doing the exercise. It depends on what certification they do. And once people are more towards kind of a concrete path to feeling like they want to do the exam certification, then we'll have study groups. So we'll bunch 2 or 3 developer solution specialists and have a leader that's within that group. So in my experience, when I was doing the solution specialist myself, I was kind of the leader of the group, where we had 3 other people with me, and we would go every week as we're following the videos and the exercise, and we'd come up and debrief on on what we saw, the problems, what's not clear, what's clear, and then kind of quiz ourselves a little bit and say, hey, I didn't get this question right, and kind of interact with each other.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just a great way of doing it. Study groups is a great way of doing it. Again, some people prefer to work alone and just read and plow through exercise or give themselves challenge. We've seen that also. I don't know what you call those, but little quiz cards that you can prepare yourself to.
Flashcards, yeah.
Flashcards, thank you. And then kind of have those ready. So some people use those, they feel better, but it's very similar to studying. The studying part is very similar to an exam you would do. But then it becomes to how can you apply it, and being already working in the space, whether junior or senior level, allows you to tie in much better than if you would just never touch Magento trying to be certified with it, which I don't think is possible to a certain level.
Absolutely, yeah, I totally agree. And just for the viewers, note with Adobe transition, the Magento being absorbed into Adobe, the solution specialist has now been changed to a business practitioner. So
that's right.
It's an associate developer has now been changed into professional developer. Professional is now expert, and professional developer plus is now a master. So it's slightly confusing, especially when you compare the old to the new. But at least for those who are coming in fresh with just remembering the Adobe, we're talking about the solution specialist being business practitioner. So that can be an important distinction there. So that's great. So you as the VP of business development, is that correct? VP of business development?
That's right. And also a big part of that is partnership. So I handle all the partnership with Adobe, Magento, and all the teams that's around there, because a lot of this knowledge come from there, not only in the sales part, but what we feed back to the team to stay up to date. For example, when 2.4 was released, we got a close review at what were either the bugs or the solution or the known problems, and we were able to have access to that early on. So that partnership is very important as well.
That's great. So as the VP of this area, these partner relationships, business development, you are now business practitioner / solution specialist certified. Now we got to say both of those together, right? So you've worked through this process as some might say a non-developer, someone who you aren't a developer by trade. You've become certified, and I think what's particularly powerful about that is that you've set the example. You've gone before your team and the others at O2Web, and you have become certified yourself. What can you share as far as the inspiration that you have given them, or how do you inspire your people? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you can give them training materials, you can ask them to participate in study groups, but at the end of the day, there has to be some type of intrinsic motivation or inspiration, i.e. from you, that motivates them to continue on this process. There has to be like a reward at the end. Can you speak to that as far as top-down motivating those that are working with them and for them?
Right. I think you touched on a good point. Motivation is something that's very important because the reality is nobody wants to be the guy that fails an exam or certification, because there's a few of us doing it at the same time, and there's pressure for people, right? And that pressure, I myself, in the style of management I do, I wouldn't feel right to not partake that and just be like, okay, guys, here's a tap on the back and go ahead. I failed my first time, so I know exactly how that feels. My partner Charles was messing with me because he's a developer. He got it first time and he got it and I didn't get it. And I can understand that. So the idea for me was to make sure everybody's the tool. You need to push people a little bit to do the exam because it requires extra work. It requires attention. Sometimes it's easier to just keep developing instead of studying and stuff like that. So the idea was for me was to be part of that and be part of the same time. We had a big group of people doing certification at the same time, and I think it did really help. Seeing that we're up there with them, and that it's a team effort, right? And it's rewarded by being part of that. I don't want to say certified team, but there's more. What everybody was doing the exam, we would come back to the office and high five each other, and somebody didn't get it, and we got them to come in, and so a lot of kind of personal and human touch reward is something that we spend a lot of time with, and we invest a lot of it. But also, of course, we try to incentivize people to do it, whether it's with time off or with reward in a sense of progression in the roles, for example. So we have someone that's done the solution specialist that's now a business analyst for us. So they take on more responsibility, So a lot of this, I don't want to say social gratification, but kind of recognition from your peers saying, hey, I put in the effort and it pays off, and it helps O2 as a business as well, because we want to make sure we stay at the top of our game and that we deliver the best project that we can. So, I mean, we everybody feels like they contribute.
Yeah, that's an excellent answer. And over in the past, I was more of a fan of like bonuses, or not, but like long term, like just pay increases. But what you're saying there, and what I've been coming to see lately, is that the one-time incentivization or the social and I'm not going to capture exact words, but the social encouragement, at least from my perspective, seems to actually have more of a motivation and more of a benefit to the company. This certification was a one-time pass. It was a big study and then a one-time pass. And so the long-term pay increases, while they might be warranted as a result of other, what would you say, other work, other progression, taking on more responsibility or job changes like inside the company. But the one-time bonuses, the one-time, or the pats on the back, the time off, whatever form that one-time thing comes as, I really do believe that is actually more effective in motivating that reward at the end. Not only that, but they are certified, for however long it will be. And obviously with Adobe possibly making there be expirations, we'll see about how that all plays out. But I'm sure you've probably heard about all that.
I think it's a combination, right? I think in certain settings, I think financial or some salary incentivization could make sense. But I think if you want something that's more close to, there's two ways seeing it, right? Like you can do something and get money and then get up, and then that's same case with a job, the same thing with a certification or studying or a bachelor's degree, right?
Yes.
Or you can invest yourself, understand what it is, and then progress for real. And,
that's right.
That's the reality of it. If somebody works with us for, 3 to 5 years, hopefully 5 years, they get certified, they get better. And then after a while, they decide to leave. Well, they're not the same person because they've worked at their craft and they've seen some project. And you know what? Their value, if we want to look at that sense, the value on the market is much higher than it would be without that. That being said, we don't want anybody to leave, but that's also a self gratification for them to say, hey, now I'm certified, I'm on project, and it helps people to grasp the reality of it and makes it much more real than just like, hey, get us an X on our partnership requirement for this certification, and you'll get X amount of money. That's sure that can work for some people, but I think the long term, and it's always something that we try to invest in, right? Is the long term makes a lot more sense to be able to get that feeling of high-fiving people come in the office and I got it, and this,
absolutely,
this feeling, right? I think that carries longer, and it's part of who we are here, right? So we're a close team and we help each other. So it fits in our values. So I can't speak for other people. For us, it's been working.
That's awesome. That is excellent. I sure we have just a few more minutes here. So I want to pick your brain. 2 more questions here. What would you say have been the most effective forms of training for especially your developers, but I guess it could be everybody, but what programs have you used? What ways have you worked with them to gain the knowledge in order to get certified?
Again, I'm saying this, we were talking, but I mean, the guides that we've had with Swift Otters are really good. And again, not to throw stones, but we used to use the Magento University programs and videos, and not really effective the way it's really useful in the in the everyday life of either a developer or somebody that's using the business practitioner kind of certification. I think those tools work really well. I think practice and sharing is absolutely essential.
Yes,
sharing with other people, whether it's internally or outside, I think that's the best. Working through cases, and then the beauty of doing that while you're working at a business that uses that is that you're able to use real case or real life scenarios and be like, oh, why did we do this B2B module this way? Why are we not using XYZ feature? Delegated account. Why are we not activating this? And then you can kind of work your mind through as to why decisions were made by either a developer or a business analyst, or depending on who decision or the requirement of the client, right? So, and then those are the kind of the triangle, right, of decision, because it's very easy to just say on a requirement list, B2B, yes, user can B2B, yes, and then that's very easy. But to understand the reality of the business rules behind it and how we can do it by having code that's effective, that's upgradable, that will last in time. And especially now with PWA, that's another layer that we're actually investing a lot in the PWA space, because there's a lot of microservices that we can use. So by having those different parts used in a real life experience, I mean, that's like, it is a game-changing method to use real cases, or the ones that it's provided in a case study or something like that, or the guides or the videos that, for example, in Swift Otter. But having a real piece to wrap your head around is for me, at least on a first level basis, was game-changing.
100%. Absolutely. I totally agree. I was talking with a merchant recently who was very frustrated with their existing agency, and a lot of the reason came down to they weren't able to implement these requirements, or they weren't even able to figure out what these requirements were. And I think this probably especially points over to the business practitioner or the old solution specialist in its previous naming, because being able to have that understanding, okay, this merchant wants B2B functionality. Great. But now we have to talk about, okay, there's a whole bunch to B2B functionality, and it probably looks drastically different from this merchant to this other merchant over here, right? So being able to understand, and then you have to map it back to Magento functionality and features. And at the end of the day, the more features you can utilize of Magento's capabilities, the less the implementation budget and the ongoing maintenance budget, which means a happier merchant because there's less bugs.
Absolutely. And also he has invested in the platform that will, stand the test of time, because they will be able to use it in 2, 3, 4 years when they upgrade their SAP, for example. So, the bridge is built in a way that's upgradable, and that the requirements were taught about something that will last, through time and through business rule changing or product information changing, or, and that comes with experience also. It's
for sure. Yes.
There is also part of that. That's the business practitioner mindset, but also I've seen a lot of different scenarios allows you to do that, and that's why I think there's a lot of value of people that do different parts of the project, because they've seen different scenarios. If you have somebody that does, I don't know, if somebody would set up their business and saying, oh, you're going to do only like footer and header, straight down, so you might get some efficiency there, but this person comes out with something weird or something unusual, won't necessarily understand what to do next, or what's the best practice to go from there.
Absolutely. Simon, this has been excellent. I particularly appreciate your perspective. You all have clearly invested in your people, the people that are working with you, and you take this O2Web's reputation as a very qualified Magento experts, as very qualified Magento experts. You take that very seriously, and that is outstanding. And it's truly a pleasure to have you on to be able to talk about your methodology in getting your people certified and the knowledge that comes as a result of that. So thank you for joining us, and I am super excited to be able to share this with everyone who follows the SwiftOtter Adobe community of certifications.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and thanks for having me. And thank you for making our lives a little bit easier with the services you provide. Shameless plug, but also I want to take but that's a reality. But I want to say, it's we invest in our team, but the reality is they do the work, and they're the one going out there and studying and performing into those exams and getting the certification and getting those projects to be done properly. So there's not much credit we can take on that, but we work as a team, and it pays off. So
that's awesome.
We can only give them more incentive to keep bettering themselves.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephen, or thank you, Simon. It was
all good.
It was a pleasure having you on. Thank you.
My pleasure.